Want to talk to you today about a client named Nick. Nick came to me, I want to say just a little bit after COVID started. So we're talking maybe like May or June of 2020. He came to me with a nagging hip issue that he constantly re-injured every time he would go out and do something active. Now, Nick is a restaurant owner, so he's standing all day, every day. Sometimes he's on the line, sometimes he's doing the cooking, sometimes he's just hosting or seating people. Okay, but he's up on his feet all day, every day. So, for a very long period of time, he had been going to traditional Western medicine doctors and practitioners. He's seen them all. Okay, he's even went to acupuncturists, he's went to osteopaths, he's talked to doctors, and they all said the same thing. Don't really know what's going on or why this problem keeps coming back, but the best thing that we can do is an MRI and then maybe surgery. Prior to that, he was just popping pain pills every time it would flare up. So a friend of his, whom I had helped heal a very long time ago, I'm talking about maybe 2017. So it was over 3 years since I heard anything from this guy, had recommended him to me. And he shows up. I already see that he's a little bit crooked. His left shoulder is a little bit high. And that to me is always going to be indicative of right side lower back pain. And then also a crowded right hip. You're going to run into right side knee pain after that, and then ankle. Or sometimes from a twisted ankle, it'll start in reverse. The ankle will be bad, then the knee will have issues tracking, and then it's the right side glute because now it's doing more work for the knee. You get the point. That'll then push the pain to the left side back. Okay. So I get him on my table and I start working from head to toe on this pattern. And I get down into his left glute and his left hamstring. And what I'm noticing is that it's way tighter than the right glute. So what I'm starting to realize now is that the right glute is kind of a symptom from something else. All right. So I keep on working. And over several sessions, I want to say maybe 3 or 5 sessions, his right hip pain is totally gone. And he's super stoked. So he's like, you know what? I never want to have this happen. I want to come and see you at least once per week. And I'm like, hey, that's great. This is how a majority of my clients usually end up. So he's coming to see me once per week, every week thereafter. And the guy's almost religious with it. Like a couple times a year, he will go on a vacation and he'll be like, all right, either I can't see you or could we move our Wednesday appointment to maybe like Thursday or Friday because he doesn't want to miss it. And while I'm working on his body, even though he's pain free, I'm still having issues with this left glute being uber tight and his left hamstring being uber tight. The rest of the body is clear. And the work that I'm doing is slowly starting to unfurl it, but it's not really moving along the way that it should. So it's moving at a snail's pace. The people that come and see me, usually after 2 or 3 sessions, 70, 80, 90% better. And yeah, this guy's pain free, but still, it's a liability. To me, it's a liability that he has this in his body because I know tissue. And when tissue is tight like that, it's nothing good. It's nothing good. So I'm constantly reiterating and talking to him and telling him, I don't know why this glute is so tight or this hamstring is so tight. Every time I work on it, it gets maybe like a percent better. And we were in like the 10th percentile. So it was 90% unhealthy and 10% healthy. And now, after maybe like a year and a half, we're at like 26% healthy. Like I still feel the tightness in this. So I'm know by now that at some point this thing's going to explode. There's going to be something that occurs in his life, either emotionally or physically or mentally, that is going to cause this thing to release. And wouldn't you know it, in 2024, so this is 4 years after he started seeing me, I want to say almost even to the day, around April, May, sometime like that of 2024, he comes in and he's like, man, I was on the line yesterday just pushing plates through. And he's like, I started to feel my left side back bother me. And he's like, now it's in my hip and now it's in my hamstring. And he goes, I'm getting pain all the way down to my middle shin. And I looked at him and I said, congratulations. You finally birthed this baby, or you finally are releasing the treasure that's locked in your tissue. Everybody wants to talk about how pain is bad, it's uncomfortable. Yes, I don't disagree with you there, but pain is actually pain to me. That is the treasure. That's the good stuff. Because if we ignore that and just let it be, we're looking at a larger issue down the road. Where if it arises, all we have to do is say, okay, this is what it feels like. Here's where it is. And I can understand how to release it. And now, guess what? We're turning the clock back on your chronological physical age, right? You no longer are 47 or feel like you're 47. Maybe you feel like you're 35 because we just got that gremlin out of your body. It's no longer causing problems. So the entire time I was talking to him about the difference between tightness going into the body and tightness coming out of the body. And each one produces their own different type of pain. Tightness that's going into the body, it's painful typically only when you're doing activity. Tightness that's coming out of the body will be painful when you're not doing anything. But then when you start to move and you get blood in that area and the fascia actually becomes rehydrated and saturated again and warm, the pain starts to lessen or goes away completely. I have had several mobility incidents where I released something huge in my quad, in my glute, in my hamstring. And I can remember this one time I opened up my left adductor from something that was just completely gnarly. And I got this major inflammatory response on the inside of my left knee. It looked like there was a grapefruit just hanging there. Now, what do we know about the human body, muscles, and angles of pull? Well, muscle and fascia use bone as an anchor. So if my muscle is this long and I start to bunch everything up, okay, at the proximal or the closer insertion to the center of my gravity, then what ends up happening is that it is going to pull towards that pelvis. Where am I going to feel all that pressure? On the anchoring system, which is your tendon, okay, on the knee. So it's going to look like, maybe the MCL got sprained, or you're going to have pain, Osgood-Schlatter's type of pain on the front part below the kneecap, below the tendon, okay? You're going to have an issue there. When you release that up high and the tissue can relax, all of that tension starts to go back to where it used to be. And because that tissue is so stressed out and so frayed, and it probably has so many micro tears in it, the body sends an inflammatory response to repair it. Not once have I put ice on any part of inflammation in a joint, okay, except after surgery. After surgery, you want to put ice on just to slow the rate of increasing inflammation, because it's usually the intra-arterial pressure from the inflammation that's going to create pain for you. All right. So rather than taking, any type of NSAIDs, or if they're going to give you something more powerful like Tylenol with codeine, etc., you just don't want to, you want to use that stuff as a last resort. Right. So tightness coming out of the body is a gift, and it can stay there for many, many years until finally the system has a less enough of pressure in order to release it. Or finally, when something is resolved in your life and it's able to be released, then there are so many different reasons why the body might be holding that tension. The body is under no obligation to explain itself to you or tell you why it's doing things. Okay. All I know is that I have a roadmap of how the body tightens up, and have a roadmap of how I can loosen it back up again and push it into a healing atmosphere rather than a tightening atmosphere, or a constant tightening atmosphere. Tightness that is coming out of the body, you may not even really feel unless if you're in the deepest of positions and you're just like, something feels a little bit off. If you're going ATG squats, all the way down to the bottom where your butt is touching your heels, then you might be like, oh man, I get down to the end range of motion and I get a little bit uncomfortable behind the back of my knee. Okay, well, there's something there that we need to monitor, and we need to continuously roll the glute, roll the hamstring, maybe even the IT band area. Okay, get up underneath the IT band and the vastus lateralis and loosen the fascia of that up, so now it's not pulling anymore when we get into those deep positions. tightness that's coming out of the body can cause a worse feeling of injury than even when tightness is going into the body and you injure it. It's scary. I mean, Nick was like, I don't know. Like, do I need to go to the doctor? I mean, this guy's been with me for 4 years. He knows I've fixed everything on him, other people. He bought into my nutrition program. The guy lost 30 pounds, looked amazing. It felt younger and more energetic. So he knows, he trusts me. He knows I know what I'm talking about. And whatever I have him do, it's going to work faster than not. And if it's not working that great right away, it's eventually going to kick in and start to work really well. So these are some of the things that we need to be prepared for and understand. And I talk about it in my book, The Back Pain Bible, how the path to healing is never just an ascending line, very rarely. And if it was for you, that's awesome. Okay. But for a majority of people that have to come and see me, they're at the end of their rope. They've been in the system 9, 18, 20 years, something like that. And nothing has been able to heal them. So when I get clients, they're the worst of the worst. They've had the worst problems that you can imagine. Okay, so when you talk about them experiencing another injury as tightness coming out of the body, most people get skittish. But the way that I explain it and I prepare my clients for it, whenever it happens, they can be calm, cool, and collected, not go back into fight or flight, where everything tightens up and all of a sudden they're having even more emotional issues. You strengthen the bond of that injury and the brain says, aha, yes, we're still hurt. Protect this area. And fascia goes, I concur. And the nerves and the muscles go, okay, I'm sending signals and I'm clamping down. And I'm just going to keep it this way until I feel something better. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for you. Go ahead and put anything down in the comments if you need anything explained further or if I didn't make something clear. Tightness going into the body is typically I go and exercise, I squat, my knee hurts. Tightness coming out of the body, my knee hurts, I go and squat, but after a couple minutes on the bike warming up and my first 1 or 2 sets at like 95 and 135 pounds, my knee starts to get better. In both cases, I tell people you still should be exercising, you still should be moving. The guy or girl whose knee that hurts, when they squat, tightness going in, lower the weight, try a different exercise, find something where you can be as aggressive as you want that doesn't hurt the knee, or just use less weight and more repetitions. So now we're conditioning the muscle, conditioning the joint. We can get a lot more blood in there for the healing environment that we're trying to create. Okay. When tightness is coming out and your knee doesn't hurt when you're squatting, but it hurts when you're just kind of walking around, getting out of bed in the morning. You can actually go as aggressive as you want within reason. I don't want you trying for a new PR at 500 pounds or anything like that, but you can do some pretty aggressive sets of 5s, 3s, maybe even a double, okay, somewhere around there, without any cause for concern of creating any more injury. Because as that tightness starts to open up, we're going to have to re-educate the tissue again and get it to fire the way that it should be. It's a remembering, okay? It's not a retraining of sorts. It's just helping that tissue remember how to do what it was born to do correctly. So go ahead, guys, throw some comments down. Check out my books on Amazon, Christopher J. Kidowski. Always remember that you can become your own best therapist. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. Hit me up via email, rebuildingyou@proton.me, and I'll answer any questions or guide you to the best of my ability. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. Love, light, and aloha.